The archives smelled of old paper and dust that settled like forgotten thoughts. A single lamp cast long shadows across the shelves, the only light in this buried corner of the university. I came here as a transfer, chasing stars in astronomy texts, but the isolation hit harder than the cold stone floors. My passion felt raw, out of place in this rigid world of polished minds. Then she appeared, Dr. Elena Voss, the star PhD candidate everyone whispered about. Poised at the table, her fingers tracing faded maps, but strain etched her eyes, like the weight of galaxies pressed on her shoulders. We didn't speak. The silence stretched, thick as the air. I felt it pull at me, unspoken. My glance stole across the room, catching hers for a beat too long. Something forbidden flickered there, a pull like gravity. As the assignment forced us together, cataloging ancient star charts, those walls began to crack. I arrived at Eldridge University in late fall, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle warnings. The campus sprawled under gray skies, towers of ivy-clad stone that felt more like barriers than gateways. As a transfer from a small rural college, I was the outsider, my notebooks filled with scribbled theories that burned inside me. Astronomy wasn't just study. It was the night sky I'd watched from dusty fields back home. Stars my only constant in a world that shifted too fast. But here, in this academic machine, my intensity clashed with the measured pace. Professors nodded politely, but their eyes slid past, as if I were a comet veering too close. Beautiful, but unpredictable. The department head called me in on my second day. Her office overlooked the quad, where students hurried in clusters, bundled against the wind. "You're assigned to the Voss project," she said, not looking up from her papers. "High stakes. Elena Voss is defending her dissertation soon. You'll assist in the archives. Late hours, cramped space. Don't waste her time." Elena Voss. The name alone carried weight. She'd mapped uncharted stellar patterns, her papers cited in journals I devoured in secret. I nodded, heart thudding like a distant pulsar. That night, I pushed open the heavy oak door to the sub-basement archives. The air was cooler down there, laced with the must of centuries-old bindings. A single bulb hummed overhead, illuminating a narrow table piled with charts and leather folios. Elena was already there, back straight, glasses perched on her nose as she measured a fragile diagram with calipers. "You're late," she said without turning. Her voice was even, precise, like the tick of a metronome. "Traffic on the shuttle," I muttered, setting my bag down. The space was tight, shelves pressing in from all sides, forcing us shoulder to close shoulder. I could smell her soap, clean and faint, cutting through the dust. She glanced then, eyes sharp behind her lenses. "Precision matters here. These charts are from the 18th century. One tear and funding dries up." Her words were clipped, her movements deliberate, as she handed me a stack. Our fingers brushed, brief, electric. She pulled back fast. We worked in that friction. Her style was all order, labels aligned, notes in neat columns. Mine spilled out, margins filled with questions, connections drawn in hasty lines. "Why catalog this nebulous sketch?" I asked once, leaning over a yellowed page. "It's off by degrees from modern data." "Because errors reveal evolution," she replied, not pausing. But her pen hovered, just a second. The hours stretched. Midnight came, the campus above silent. Exhaustion crept in, my eyes blurring on the ink. Elena rubbed her temple, a rare slip, her facade cracking like thin ice. "You ever wonder if we're just chasing ghosts?" I said, voice low. The words hung, echoing hidden wants I'd buried deep. She met my gaze, guarded but softening. "Ghosts fund dissertations. And yours?" "Yours hangs by threads here." Her tone held warning, but also the first hint of shared weariness. Stakes settled heavy that first week. Whispers in the halls. Elena's grant was precarious, tied to this archive's yield. One misstep and it vanished. Her career, her precision world. For me, belonging was fragile. Expulsion for disruption would send me back to empty fields, unseen. The archives became our cage, walls closing as duty pulled us nearer. But nightly sessions deepened it. What started as professional sharpened into risk. Glances lingering, silences loaded. The dust thickened, mirroring the pull I fought. Professional duty twisted, turning into something personal. Dangerous. I watched her more than I should have. Elena's facade was a wall of quiet command, shoulders squared over the charts, her pen moving like a compass needle, always true. But in the quiet moments, when the lamp's glow caught the edge of her jaw, cracks showed. A sigh escaped as she pinned a loose curl behind her ear, or her fingers paused on a faded constellation, eyes distant. Those slips pulled at me, like stars slipping their orbits. The dim light played tricks. Our table was a narrow island in the archive's sea of shadows, forcing us close. I felt the heat from her arm as we leaned over the same folio, the brush of her sleeve against mine sending sparks through the wool. The air hummed with it, dust motes dancing in the beam, her breath steady but quickening when our hands nearly met. I shifted, pretending to adjust a page, but my skin remembered. Awareness sharpened everything. The faint scent of her ink-stained fingers, the way the low ceiling pressed down, making the space feel like a shared secret. One night, as rain tapped the small window high above, she broke the rhythm. "This pressure," she said, voice low, not looking up. "It's like carrying the weight of every advisor's expectations. One wrong alignment in these charts, and the grant evaporates. I've displaced myself 3 times for this, smaller schools, lesser labs, just to chase the data." Her words mirrored my own ghosts. I'd left the rural edges, fields where nights were vast and unjudged, for this. Displacement stacked like old bindings, each one a layer of isolation. I nodded, throat tight. I know that pull. Back home, the sky was mine alone. Here, it feels borrowed, fragile. But admiration twisted inside me. I called it respect, her mind slicing through stellar mysteries like a blade. Yet it burned deeper, a heat in my chest when she explained a parallax shift, her voice gaining an edge of fire. Attraction hid there, disguised in questions I asked too often, lingering too long on her explanations. My body betrayed the lie, pulse quickening in the silence, eyes tracing the line of her neck when she wrote. I pushed it down, focused on the work. She was the star. I was the shadow orbiting. Wanting more felt like risking the pull of a black hole. Complications crept in from outside. During a midday seminar, Dr. Harlan, Elena's rival for the department's top spot, cornered me in the hall. His glasses glinted under the fluorescence, voice laced with false concern. "Spending so much time with Voss in those archives? Unconventional for an assistant. People talk. Late nights, closed doors. Careful. Her funding sensitive. Wouldn't want improprieties staining your transfer record." His words landed like cold rain, amplifying the isolation. The campus halls emptied at night, echoing with footsteps that weren't ours. Wind howled through the quad, trees bending like accusations. Down in our burrow, it felt farther from the world, just us and the charts. But his warning echoed, a reminder of eyes watching. The nights blurred, isolation wrapping tighter. Empty halls meant no interruptions, but also no escape. We'd surface for coffee from the vending machine, steam rising in the chill corridor, then descend again. The archives held us, a bubble of flickering light against the dark university sprawl. Elena's cracks widened in those hours, a tired laugh at a mislabeled star, or her head dropping to her hands when the clock struck 2. I wanted to reach out, steady her, but held back. The pull grew, boundaries fraying like old paper edges. Then came the breakthrough. We'd been tracing a forgotten eclipse notation, coordinates that didn't match any known event. Elena's precision met my intensity. I spotted the anomaly first, a reverse longitude, hidden in ink bleed. "Here," I said, finger on the page. She leaned in, breath warm on my cheek. Our eyes met over the chart, the discovery sparking something electric. "You're right," she whispered, a rare smile cracking her poise. In that moment, the air shifted, work blurring into us, boundaries dissolving like mist at dawn. The breakthrough lingered like a new star on the horizon. That reverse longitude unlocked a chain of notations, pulling us deeper into the archive's grip. Nights stretched longer, the lamp's glow our only anchor. We'd forget meals, wrappers from vending machine sandwiches crumpling under charts. One evening, as thunder rumbled distant, Elena pushed aside a half-eaten bar. Her hands trembled slightly, unwrapping the precision she wore like armor. "I can't fail this," she said, voice cracking the silence. We sat knee to knee at the table, the air thick with rain scent seeping through stone. "The grant review is in weeks. If these charts don't yield something groundbreaking, it's over. Years of displacement, scraping for labs that'd have me. Failure means going back, smaller, invisible." Her eyes fixed on a faded orbit sketch, but I saw the fear, raw as exposed wire. I nodded, the words hitting like wind through open fields. "Failure's a shadow you've carried far." She looked up then, guard slipping. The confession hung, pulling me in. We talked then, words spilling like ink from a tipped bottle. Her fears poured out, ambition's grind, advisors' cold nods, the isolation of being the star everyone expected to burn eternal. My turn came quiet, over cold coffee, steaming, and chipped mugs. "I came from rural edges," I said, tracing a constellation's arc on the table's scarred wood. Fields where stars felt close, personal. No crowds, just sky and silence. But connection? Genuine, the kind that sees you? It's rare. I transferred chasing that, but here it's all measurements, no touch. The longing twisted in my chest, echoing her admissions. She listened, head tilted, the dim light catching the curve of her cheek. For the first time, the archives felt less like a tomb, more like a confessional. Shelves heavy with buried secrets, ours just beginning to surface. Intellectual fire kindled next. Debate started over a disputed parallax in an old log. "It's flawed," I argued, leaning forward, my voice gaining heat. "The observer skewed it with bias, too rigid, missing the chaos." Elena countered, eyes sparking. "Chaos without structure collapses. Precision holds the universe." But her tone softened, a tease edging in. "Though your intensity, it shakes things up." Our words danced, theories twisting into something lighter, flirtatious. A laugh escaped her once, rare and warm, when I mimicked an ancient astronomer's pompous note. "You make it alive," she said, her gaze holding mine. The passion ignited, bridging minds and more, the air humming with unspoken layers. Exhaustion crept physical then. Hours blurred, bodies heavy from hunching over folios. One night, as we sorted a stack of brittle plates, my hand slipped, brushing hers. The touch lingered. Accidental, but charged. Skin warm against cool paper, restraint pulling taut like a bowstring. She didn't pull away immediately, fingers curling slightly. Heat rose in my face, pulse thudding in the quiet. "Sorry," I murmured, but she shook her head, a faint flush on her neck. Another time, reaching for the same ledger, our arms pressed, the contact electric in the confined space. We froze, breath sinking, then separated slow, eyes avoiding. Restraint built the tension higher, touches ghosts that haunted the work. The archives mirrored it all. Dusty vaults of hidden lives, secrets layered in yellowed pages. Every forgotten journal felt like our desires, buried under institutional weight. We'd uncover a marginal note, a personal aside from some long-dead scholar, and pause, the parallel sharp. "They hid this, too," Elena whispered once, finger on a coded love reference amid stellar data. The symbolism pressed in, our own buried pulls echoing through the stacks. Isolation deepened, the world above fading to irrelevance. Pressure mounted from outside. Deadlines loomed like gathering clouds. The grant presentation circled on calendars, whispers circulating in seminar halls. I caught fragments in the quad. Harlan's voice low to a colleague. Voss on the new transfer. Too close in those nights. Smacks of favoritism. Her funding's on the line. Impropriety could sink it. The words chilled, amplifying the bubble's fragility. Students glanced our way in the library, eyes narrowing when we emerged bleary-eyed together. Elena stiffened in daylight, her poise snapping back, but down below, the strain showed. Jaw tight, sighs deeper. We pushed harder, the air thickening with urgency. Forgotten meals became routine, confessions weaving into work. My rural truth surfaced more. Nights alone under vast skies, longing for someone to share the wonder. Elena echoed with her own. The cost of brilliance, friends lost to her drive. Flirtation laced debates now, a glance turning playful, a brush of hands deliberate in its hesitation. The archives held us tighter, secrets piling like the charts. One evening, as we pored over a pivotal alignment, Elena's voice faltered. This has to connect or it's nothing. Her hand grazed mine again, restraint fraying. The touch sent sparks, but we pulled back, the moment heavy. Whispers grew. Notes slipped under doors, questions in meetings. The deadline pressed, our bubble thinning against the storm. It all crested toward crisis. A key folio went missing, the project's core unraveling. Panic edged Elena's precision, forcing us to confront the raw underbelly. No more hiding behind charts. Honesty demanded its due. The funding meeting hit like a sudden eclipse. Elena emerged from the dean's office that afternoon, her steps clipped across the quad, face a mask of controlled fury. I waited in the archives, the missing folio's absence gnawing at the stacks like an unsolved void. She descended without a word, slamming the door behind her. The echo bounced off the stone, settling heavy. Her hands gripped the table's edge, knuckles white against the wood, as if anchoring herself to keep from unraveling. They cut the preliminary support, she said finally, voice flat but edged with gravel. Harlan's influence says our progress is speculative, too reliant on unproven assistance. She sank into the chair, shoulders slumping under the weight. The lamp caught the sheen of unshed tears in her eyes, her poise fracturing like brittle glass. I'd never seen her like this. The star dimmed, ambition's toll carving lines into her face. My chest tightened, the air in our burrow thickening with her defeat. I moved without thinking. Reached across the table, my hand covering hers where it lay clenched on a chart. Her skin was cool, trembling faintly under my palm. It's not over, I said, voice steady despite the storm inside. We've got the breakthrough. It'll shift. She didn't pull away. Instead, her fingers uncurled slightly, allowing the contact. Our eyes met then, hers searching, mine holding firm. The gaze stretched, seconds pulling into something deeper, the dim light blurring the edges of the shelves around us. Heat built in that silence, a current running from her hand to mine, unspoken words hanging like dust in the beam. We broke it slowly, but the charge lingered. Elena exhaled, straightening, but the vulnerability clung. To steady us, I pulled a slim volume from the archive's marginalia shelf, a forgotten collection of 19th century verses tucked among the astronomical logs. Read this, I said, sliding it toward her. Not stars, but close enough. She hesitated, then opened it, her voice emerging soft at first, reciting a poem on wandering souls and hidden lights. The words flowed, her tone warming as she traced the lines, revealing a passion buried under theses and grants. I took the book next, my turn. Selected a piece on isolated orbits, lovers drawn despite the pull of worlds apart. As I read, her eyes fixed on me, intent, the intimacy sharpening. The verses uncovered us, mutual hungers for connection beyond the charts, passions stifled by rigid paths. She'd hidden her love for this poetry, stolen nights with books when advisors demanded data. I confessed my own, rural evenings murmuring lines to the dark, words a bridge over loneliness. The reading wove us tighter, the archives transforming into a sanctuary of shared secrets, shelves whispering approval. But my body rebelled against the calm. Heart thudded hard in my chest, echoing in the silent space like a distant drum. Sweat prickled my neck, pulse racing as her gaze held mine through the final stanza. The air felt charged, heavy with the scent of old ink and our proximity. I set the book down, fingers lingering on the page, fighting the urge to close the gap. Restraint clawed at me, but the thudding betrayed it all, desire raw, insistent, in the hush. Elena saw it. Her breath caught, eyes flickering with the same fire. For a beat, she leaned in, the space between us narrowing to nothing. Then she pulled back, abrupt, chair scraping the stone floor. "We can't," she said, voice laced with rules, but doubt threaded through it, soft as a question. "The department code, assistants and candidates. It's career suicide. For both of us." She stood, pacing the narrow aisle, arms crossed tight. The words rang true, but her tone wavered, eyes avoiding mine, the pull evident in the tension of her stance. Isolation pressed harder after that. The outside world receded further, campus lights distant through the high grate window, halls above echoing with indifferent footsteps. Our bubble grew precarious, fragile as the folios we handled, one wrong breath away from shattering. Nights blurred into a rhythm of work and near misses, a shared glance over a ledger, her shoulder brushing mine as we reached for the same shelf. The archives amplified it, stone walls muffling the university's hum, trapping our truths inside. Whispers from above filtered down faintly, Harlan's barbs in meetings, colleagues speculating on our unorthodox hours. But down here it was just us, the weight of isolation both shield and cage. We pushed through, the missing folios crisis forcing deeper dives into the stacks. Elena's resilience flickered back, her hands steadying on the charts, but the breakdown lingered, softening her edges. I'd catch her watching me now, a quiet intensity mirroring my own. Touches grew bolder in accident, fingers grazing as we passed tools, her knee against mine under the table. Each one sent sparks, restraint fraying like worn bindings. The poetry sessions became ritual, voices low, passions surfacing in verses that echoed our own buried wants. One evening, as fog rolled thick outside, blanketing the quad in gray, Elena paused mid-note. "You make this bearable," she murmured, her doubt from before still there, but thinner. I met her eyes, heart thudding again, the space between us alive with possibility. The bubble held, but strained, secrets piling higher. The urgent all-nighter came unbidden. The dean demanded a progress report by dawn, a makeshift presentation pieced from our fragmented work. We labored through the dark hours, coffee cold in mugs, the lamp flickering like a failing star. Exhaustion stripped us bare, desires unspoken rising to the breaking point, the air taut with what we couldn't name. We tried to pull back after that all-nighter, the progress report scraped by, Dean's nod grudging, but enough to buy time. Elena suggested space. Day shifts in the main library, separate notes. Boundaries, she said, eyes fixed on her ledger, voice firm but cracking at the edges. I agreed, throat tight, retreating to the upper stacks where sunlight filtered through tall windows. But the distance failed fast. The project's puzzle demanded us. A cryptic star alignment in the recovered folio needed decoding, coordinates tangled like roots in dry soil. By evening, I found myself descending again, the stone steps echoing my reluctance. The archives welcomed me back, cool and insistent. Elena was there, bent over the table, brow furrowed in the lamp's yellow pool. She looked up, surprise flickering before her mask settled. Couldn't stay away? Her tone teased, but underneath, relief. We dove in, shoulders brushing as we sketched the pattern on graph paper. My pencil scratched hasty lines, hers refined them, precise strokes aligning the chaos. The collaboration pulled us close, elbows knocking, breath sinking over the page. Distance crumbled in those moments, her laugh low when my theory clicked, my hand steadying hers on the ruler. We failed at separation, the work a tether drawing us tighter, the air humming with what we'd tried to bury. My fears surfaced in the quiet lulls. As we traced the alignment's arc, memories clawed up. Rural nights under conservative skies, where wanting a woman meant whispers and turned backs. Back home, fields stretched empty, but judgment lingered like fog off the river. I'd hidden crushes in poetry scraps, fearing rejection's sting, the kind that exiled you further. Here, in this symbolic vault of forgotten truths, it echoed louder. Elena's resilience drew me in despite it. She'd pause, eyes sharp on a discrepancy, then pivot with unyielding focus. Try inverting the declination, she'd say, voice steady, guiding us through the snag. Her strength shone, a quiet force against the project's storms, pulling admiration deeper. I watched her hands, ink-smudged and sure, and felt the draw intensify. Want mixed with awe. Fears whispering, but fading in her light. Complications struck mid-decode. Reaching for a high shelf, my elbow nudged a loose binder. It tumbled, pages scattering like startled birds. Elena knelt to gather them, but I beat her to it, fingers brushing a folded note tucked in the margin. I unfolded it before thinking. Her handwriting, not archival. The pull of unseen orbits haunts me. What if precision blinds us to the heart? Below, a doodle of intertwined paths, stars linking in forbidden loops. Heat flooded my face. Personal, raw, her hidden thoughts mirroring our tension. She snatched it back, cheeks flushing under the lamp. That's nothing, private. But her voice wavered, stakes heightening. If seen, it could fuel Harlan's whispers, proof of distraction, vulnerability in her grant bid. The discovery bound us closer, secrets now shared by accident, the air thickening with risk, tension coiled through denied gestures. We'd lean in to check a calculation, faces inches apart, then jerk back, chairs scraping. Her knee would press mine under the table during a long silence, warm through denim. But she'd shift away, eyes dropping to the chart. Restraint built like pressure in a sealed jar, my fingers itching to trace her wrist when she wrote, her gaze lingering on my lips mid-explanation. The air grew heavy, dust settling slower, every breath loaded. I'd catch myself staring at the curve of her neck, pulse thudding, forcing focus back to the puzzle. She did the same, a flush rising when our hands nearly met over the graph. Denied, it amplified. Small denials fueling the fire, the archives a witness to our internal fray. Shadows played their part, mirroring the turmoil. The lamp cast our forms elongated on the walls, twisting as we moved, mine reaching, hers retreating, dark shapes entwining despite the space. In those silhouettes, our struggles danced, pursuit and pullback, desire shadowed by doubt. The stacks loomed like silent judges, pages rustling faintly in the draft, echoing the chaos inside. One night, as we wrestled a stubborn equation, her shadow overlapped mine fully, a brief union on the stone. We froze, the symbolism sharp, intimacy in outline, real but untouchable. It drew us deeper, admiration twisting into need, fears confronting the pull. I confronted it outright then, voice low over the half-solved grid. This distance, it's killing the work. And us. She met my eyes, resilience cracking just enough. Rejection's old ground for me too. But here, in this hole, it feels new. Her admission hung, drawing me closer, the puzzle forgotten for a beat. We pushed on, failures and separation turning to fragile steps forward, gestures half-made, words skirting the edge. The storm hit outside as we neared the revelation. Rain lashed the great window, thunder rumbling like shifting plates. Wind howled through the quad above, mirroring the inner gale, tensions cresting, the project's core alignment snapping into place. But with it came the storm within, desires breaking free in the downpour's roar. The storm raged full force that night, rain slamming the grate like accusations from the world above. We'd cracked the final alignment just before it broke, the cryptic coordinates resolving into a lost stellar event, a comet's path etched in forgotten ink. But the victory soured quick. The dean's urgent summons came via email at midnight. Present the full synthesis by dawn, or the grant evaporates. Harlan's doing, no doubt, his influence twisting the knife. We had hours, the archives our battlefield, shelves closing in like storm clouds. Elena paced the narrow aisle, her steps sharp against the stone, thunder punctuating each turn. The lamp flickered, shadows leaping across the walls like fractured orbits. This has to be perfect, she said, voice strained, gathering charts with hands that shook. I nodded, spreading the folios across the table, our makeshift map of stars and secrets. The duress hit hard, exhaustion from weeks of nights blending into this frenzy, bodies heavy but minds racing. We worked side by side, elbows brushing in the frenzy, the air electric with rain's damp chill seeping through cracks. Every calculation felt like a lifeline, the storm outside mirroring the chaos within, wind howling isolation into our burrow. As the clock crept toward 3, vulnerability crested. Elena slumped into the chair, rubbing her temples, the weight visible in the slump of her shoulders. "Ambition's eaten me alive," she confessed, words tumbling out like the downpour. "Years chasing this. Labs that spit me out, advisors who saw potential but not the person. It's cost my soul, Elena. Precision over everything, but what's left? A shell, hollow under the shine. If this fails, it's not just funding. It's admitting I've traded connection for charts, warmth for cold data." Her voice broke on the last, eyes meeting mine raw, stripped of the star's polish. Thunder rolled, shaking the shelves, dust sifting down like tears unshed. I reached across the table, my hand finding hers amid the scattered pages. Her skin was warm now, pulse racing under my thumb. "You haven't traded it all," I said, voice steady through the gale outside. "I see you, the fire behind the lines, the passion that pulls like gravity. We've built this together, not just data, but truth. Your soul's still there, fighting. I believe in it, in you." The words echoed our shared core, rural silences and academic voids blending into one, longing, for sight, for touch beyond the intellectual. She squeezed my hand, the contact grounding us, thunder fading to a low rumble. In that beat, the archives felt vast yet intimate, stone walls cradling our honesty against the storm's fury. Tension snapped then, pent up from touches denied and glances stolen. We leaned in over the final chart, faces close, breaths mingling in the lamp's glow. Her eyes held mine, dark with the same hunger, the air thickening to breaking. I don't know who moved first, maybe her, maybe the pull of the moment, but our lips met, spontaneous, raw. It erupted like a supernova, unfiltered heat crashing through restraint. Her mouth was soft, urgent, tasting of coffee and salt from unshed strain. My hands found her face, fingers threading her hair, pulling her closer as the kiss deepened, bodies pressing against the table's edge. Thunder clapped approval, rain blurring the world beyond. But here it was us, passion spilling like ink, years of isolation dissolving in the press of skin. We broke apart, gasping, foreheads touching, the aftershock humming. Shock widened her eyes, reality crashing in like the storm's tail end. She pulled back first, chair scraping harsh, hand to her lips as if burned. "What did we do?" she whispered, voice laced with horror, glancing at the door as if expecting intrusion. The archive spun back into focus, folios askew, the grant's fate hanging, but now tainted, our bubble pierced. I felt it too, heart thudding wild, the kiss's warmth clashing with cold dread. We'd crossed the line, raw desire overriding rules, but the weight settled fast. High stakes crystallized in the silence that followed. Her career, the dissertation, the funding, years of precision, could shatter on whispers alone. Harlan waited above, eyes sharp for any slip. One rumor enough to label her compromised, assistant entangled. For me, the transfer's fragility cracked wider. Expulsion loomed, not just for impropriety, but for disrupting the star's orbit, sending me back to fields where connections stayed buried. Hearts tangled worse, mine aching with the taste of her, hers guarded but cracked, the pull now a risk to souls we'd just bared. The storm eased outside, but inside, ruin loomed, careers and desires on the precipice. We straightened the charts in numb motions, words failing, the kiss a ghost between us. Elena stood, pacing again, the duress of the night twisting deeper. "We finish this," she said, voice resolute but trembling. "Dawn's coming, choices after." I nodded, throat tight, the synthesis piecing together under shaking hands. The revelation lingered, inner storm raging as thunder faded. Vulnerability hung raw, the kiss's echo pulling us toward or away. We didn't know yet. But as the first gray light filtered through the grate, dawn brought clarity. The storm passed, leaving wet stone and quiet resolve. We faced the choice: retreat to safe distances or embrace the fracture, hearts leaning into the unknown. Dawn crept through the grate, gray light softening the archive's edges, washing away the storm's fury. We sat in the quiet reckoning, charts spread like a fragile peace treaty between us. Elena's hand rested near mine on the table, not touching, but close enough to feel the warmth. The kiss hung there, raw and real, risks weighing heavy. Her grant, my place here, hearts exposed in the hush. "We can't undo it," she said, voice low, eyes tracing the fading ink on a page. "But retreating, that costs more. Isolation's already taken enough." I nodded, the morning chill seeping in, mirroring the pull in my chest. Back home, under endless rural skies, connections stayed buried, judged silent. Here, in this stone womb, we'd unearthed something truer. Weighing it felt like balancing orbits, pull of rules against the gravity of us. Her gaze met mine, steady now, vulnerability choosing light over shadow. "You belong in this world," she murmured, fingers inching closer, brushing mine deliberate. "Not as assistant, but as equal. My equal." The affirmation landed soft, affirming my spot, not fragile transfer, but partner in the stars and silences. We navigated then, boundaries redrawn with purpose. The synthesis bound tight, presented that morning to the dean's skeptical nod, turning to quiet approval. The project succeeded, our alignment yielding a paper that lit the department, funding secured in the glow. Elena's resilience shone, her steps lighter in the halls, but she sought me out, stolen moments in the quad's edge, whispers over coffee. The archives shifted symbolic, less confining cage, more sanctuary vault, shelves guardians of our truths rather than tombs. Dust settled gentle now, light filtering warmer, the space breathing with us. Mutual resilience bloomed against the isolation. Whispers from Harlan faded, his barbs dulled by our proof. We'd emerge together at dusk, shoulders brushing in the empty halls, the university's sprawl less vast. Her hand would find mine in the dim, a quiet vow. Rural longings and academic voids wove stronger, our bond a bridge over both. It faded to partnership, ongoing and shared glances across seminar rooms, late nights voluntary now. Hope lingered in those looks, connection's quiet triumph, pulling us forward. Our hands intertwined over the open texts, fingers lacing amid star charts, the lamp's glow warm on our skin. Connection triumphed over silence, a constellation born in the hush. If you felt that hidden pull, share your story below. Subscribe for more Sapphic journeys through the quiet truths.